Welcome to Aussie Liberty. Today I want to talk about more of a theological sort of view of things, or sort of theological. Anyway, I want to put forward the case that the Baptist Church is the reason why drugs should be legal. All right, so that sounds like a pretty interesting line of logic. Let's talk about religious freedom. So, if you go back into English history, there was a period of time where the Anglican Church, like the Church of England, persecuted every other form of Christian. Not just Roman Catholics, but other Protestants. So they called them nonconformists, and they had a variety of methods of punishing them, driving some of them out of the country, denying them jobs. They couldn't have their own churches. They couldn't have their own teaching. And really, if you look at the history of or at least European history, there very much was a way of doing things where it was the government's job to police what people thought about religion. So if you go back to the Reformation, which is where the Protestant church kind of split away from the Roman Catholic Church, there was a movement alongside the reformers, John Calvin and Martin Luther, that they wanted to get away from the government policing religious thought and religious practice. Where not just church courts but state courts, magistrates would put people in prison or execute them for heresy. And at the time, Luther and Calvin both rejected any notions that the government should not be involved in it. If you go back to the 1500s, they really thought, and even after that as well, that it was the government's job to make sure you believed the right things about religion, about God. But what we've seen in that last 500 years is a shift in mindset, not the least by Christians primarily. Right now, if you went back to the 1600s and said the government should police religion, they'd be like, yeah, great, do it. But what we've seen over time is essentially an evolution where we've become increasingly tolerant of other religions. It's no longer the government's job to tell you what to believe about God. If you want to believe in heaven and hell, that's your business. If you don't want to believe in hell, that's your business. If you've got a vision of what sends you to hell that's different from for another vision, you can do that. The government doesn't monitor these things. They don't police these things. And I think that kind of, this is what freedom of religion really is. This is what separation of church and state really is. It is that you can believe about God whatever you want. However fruity it is, however strange other people think you are, you can believe what you want. And I think that kind of actually opens the door up to a lot of freedom. So if I can't tell you what will send you to hell, so I'll rephrase it a different way. I, as a Christian, an evangelical, reformed evangelical Christian, I believe that salvation only comes through trusting in the Lord Jesus Christ and giving your life over to be commanded by Him, to make Him your King. Now, lots of other people have different views about what saves people, whether God exists or not. And in our current world, it would be, no one would say, well, it's your job to enforce your beliefs on others. I've never met I've met a lot of Christians who've said some really ugly things about other people and what the government should do to other people. But I've never heard somebody say it's the government's job to police heresy and to stamp it out, to basically to pick a church, to pick a set of beliefs and make that the religion for everybody. That's a way of thinking that has disappeared pretty much from the Western world. Now, if I can't tell you what to think about the most important thing, so, truly, like, if heaven and hell exist, then the most important thing is how do you get to heaven, and similarly, how do you not go to hell? If I can't get the government to tell you about the most important thing, well then how is it that the government has the right to tell you about any other thing? If the worst thing that can happen is you can go to hell, and that is not only illegal, but it's tolerated and it's your right to do it is supported by other Christians. Well then, how can I tell you what drugs you can take? How can I tell you who you marry or where you marry? How can I tell you whether you wear a bike helmet or not, whether you wear a seatbelt? how you voluntarily interact with any other person at any time for any reason. I mean, really, if we tolerate and accept and support the right to send people to hell, then really, whether you smoke weed, it's none of my business. It's not the government's business anyway. I mean, I might think it offends me, but I don't have a right to get the government to stop you from doing it. So, really, the existence of the Baptist Church, which was part of these nonconformists in English history that were tolerated, they call them the Toleration Acts, which made what they did legal, accepted them and led us down this path where we have genuine religious freedom. The existence of the Baptist Church points to what should happen in other spheres, the non-religious spheres, which is that people should be free. Thanks for joining me for Aussie Liberty. If you liked this kind of more Christian type stuff, I mean, as I said, I'm a Christian. I'd love your feedback. You subscribe, comment on my YouTube channel, or you can go to Facebook or Twitter, Aussie Liberty on both. Let me know what you think. Thanks very much.